everybody. I'm Jeff Kirkshin, and this is Do What You Love, our chance to sit down with some of the most fascinating people I come across who truly are doing what they love. And our guests today, multiple, our first two-time guests, we've got the Mackins.
Whoa, hi.
Up in the podcast. And you guys are very familiar with podcasting because making it with the Mackins, I have to say, bravo and brava to the two of you. You have created something that I just have to say up front, my fiance is obsessed with. And when I spent all this money to get lights and computers and microphones and all this to start my own podcast, she said, well, you have to have the Mackins on.
Oh, I love her.
So
she's the best.
I'm letting you know that I did not want to do this interview. This was not my idea.
She is hanging.
That makes three of us. No,
she's hanging. Is she hanging stacks over your head? Like she's not going to do anything.
No doubt.
Okay.
No
well,
doubt.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Well, thank you. Seriously, I love the show, guys. It is hilarious. And I'm not a parent myself, but I've known one thing my entire life. So I want to be a dad one day. I've always known I wanted to have kids because I wanted to be like my dad. And I think in kind of on the outside looking into parenting, nobody ever does it right. Put the baby on the back. Don't put the baby on the back. Do this, do that. And people, and I mean this with all due respect as a non-parent, I feel like people take it really seriously. Whereas you guys take a look at parenting with Making It with the Mackins, where you talk about your life, you talk about your kids, you talk about your sex life, your families, all of this stuff, which is real. And who first came up with this idea to even start the pod?
Well, I think it was my idea to start it, it was more so a spinoff of Danielle's Instagram stories. Mm-hmm. Two and a half years ago, we had twin boys, and after that, she came home and basically a drug-induced coma and was popping pills that were prescribed to her.
I was getting to the point where I was rationing my Percocet so that they would last longer. It was bad. I didn't have withdrawals though, so I stopped.
But she was sharing that experience on her Instagram, and it sort of spun off into this sharing our lives and sharing our shit and just showing all the realness. Yeah. And I was like, why don't we make it into a podcast?
And the funny thing is when I would do that on my Instagram stories, I think the thing that kept me going was like, wow, like people would mess and be like, thank you for saying that, because, you know, nobody says how hard it is, or nobody says like that you majority of the time you're gonna, like, unless you really work your ass off or have help, it's good. You have to work hard to look good. You have to work hard to, you know, my kids are always dressed and looking amazing, and I'm in fucking sweatpants and with a top knot. I even put a bra on for tonight. This is the first time this week. I
can attest to that.
Yeah. Well, Danielle, I really, really appreciate it.
No problem.
All for our podcast, and that means a whole lot. I think it's really special. I mean, people are thanking you because you guys are real, down to earth. You talk about the struggles of parenting, the awesomeness of parenting, and I want to say up front, the fact that you rank and rate your children, I think is by far the greatest thing on any podcast, because I hate the lame answer. Who's your favorite? Oh, I can't say that. I can't. Oh, yeah. You guys are like, no, let's start.
Yeah.
That is what.
That's honestly how it started. Is who's your favorite? I was like, well, today or this week, and then it sort of spun off into this whole thing where before the podcast, I would post it on my Instagram of why they were the number 1 or 4 ranked kid of the week, and it took on its own life within the podcast.
And people would like look forward to see like who is the number 1 kid, and he used to put so much effort into it too, photos, and he really had to be like dad because he was working, so he had to like pay attention to what all our kids were doing throughout the week that made them shitty or made them great. Yeah. So and everything he says is very true. And that's what I mean, sometimes I cringe a little because I'm like, one day they're going to listen to this and hear like, but everybody's been at number 1 at some point.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. And I get backlash from it too. Like, aren't you worried about when they find this out one day? I'm like, yeah, maybe a little bit, but I'm also hopeful that because we're just being open and transparent, and that it's not like one kid is number 1 for 3 years at a time. It changes every week, that they're just understanding that we love them and sometimes we hate them too.
Yeah. Well, I think to that point, and I actually talked to my co-host Amy, who I know you both know very well. I talk to her about that all the time. And she says, hey, you know, when you get to a certain age, you realize that your parents are actually human beings. You know, I feel like we all like live in this world for so long where our parents are like this ethereal, you know, can do no wrong, they've always been parents kind of thing.
Yep.
And then one day you wake up and you're like, wow, like mom drinks too much or dad does this or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
And I think you guys are allowing them to see that. And I think down the road, the podcast is going to be something really cool for them to kind of relive their childhood quite literally.
Yeah. And one of the things I never, like, my mom only cried when she was like, really upset. But like, my kids see me cry at least like twice a day. They're like, oh, it's the boys again. Like, they know, they're like, mommy, I know having twins is really hard. I'm like, yes, it's very hard. And daddy gets to go to work and he sucks because he gets to talk to people and I talk to you guys all day. But it's like, they're seeing, like, I don't know how my mom did it. She's an amazing mom, but she always looked amazing. She always had her life together. And I admire her. And I keep telling him, like, just so you know, like, if you think you married me, and I'm going to be like my mom, like, you better just look at my dad, the one that lays on the couch, that doesn't do very much. You need to remind to take out the trash. That's me. And I have the same height and stature. So like my dad, I'm like, you're marrying my father, not my mom. So I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And John, is all of that true? Also, I want everybody listening to know that is your actual name, John, correct?
It is my, so technically, yes, it is my name. Everyone calls me Makin.
Everybody.
And
she marries into and becomes Danielle Makin,
Mm-hmm.
and then strictly still calls you Makin.
Yeah.
And
very weird.
I remember the very first time I listened to the podcast, Danielle, you and I had met, and I heard you had this pod. I was so excited to check it out. You kept saying, Makin this, and I was so lost for a second. I was like, I thought Makin was her last, oh, maybe it's his last name, and they're just bros and married at the same time.
Like she's referring to herself in the third person.
Yeah.
Right, so.
Well, no, that I just call you that, like.
Oh, no, it's just like Prince. Prince has one name, I have one name.
And the funny thing is, when we first started dating, I had no idea his name was John.
Mm-hmm.
Like, my mom thought his name was Malcolm. So it was 3 months in that I was like, wait, your name's not Makin?
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, no, my name's John. I'm like, cool. Okay. Well, you're going to be Makin or boyfriend. Like, he's still in my phone as boyfriend. It's just people always
really.
He is. It's really cheesy, but I can't bring myself to change it.
Oh, that's really sweet. That is really sweet. John, what's her name in your phone?
Because if I'm boyfriend, she has to be girlfriend.
And if he changes it, I'll fucking kill him.
Yeah.
So I'm
my gosh. Listen, see, and this is what I love. This is what I love about, and you need to subscribe to their podcast, Making It with the Mackins. That's exact moment that I love, because that's the conversation I've had with my fiance. Everybody's had, but when you're in the public sphere, no one's actually going to threaten to murder their significant other, but we all do it privately, so why not do it publicly?
And the funny thing is like, I think one of the things I realized being married and when I met my husband, I'm like, oh my God, we're going to do life together. We're going to bring our kids and travel, and it's going to be amazing. And how hard could it be to be married? Like, it's really hard, because I say to him, I'm like, I don't know how I can look at you and like watch a movie and like something happened to the, like, P.S. I love you. Something happened to her husband. And like, I sit there, cry, mortified. Like, if anything happened to you, I don't know what I would do. But like, the same time, I could look at him and be like, I fucking hate the way you breathe and chew chips, and please stop looking at me like that. And like, I don't know how you can love someone so much, but then like equally be like,
don't hold back, dear.
I cannot stand it. But at the end of the day, because how many times have we fought? How many times
today
we fought?
or
no,
since?
and you've been like, this is not the person that I married.
Right.
Really?
Because sometimes I can't believe the other person that's screaming at me.
Well, I have Sicilian roots, so it comes out.
It does.
It
comes out.
Honest to God, folks, listen, that right there is the podcast. It is real. I'm just sitting here. I'm viewing a live Making It with the Mackins, and I could not be happier, because this is exactly what I want and I have to say, now on the podcast, I said it before, but my fiance, Emily, is your biggest fan. I swear.
I love her.
She's great.
And she is a sweetheart, and she loves you guys. Being that, you guys have made such an impact on her listening habits, I started this podcast simply to try to get her to pay attention to me a little bit more.
You're like, I'm on the radio. I've been doing this my whole life. This is like my career.
It's in your roots.
I'm like the 4-year-old that comes home from preschool with a picture that doesn't look like anything. I'm like, look what I made.
I did.
They're like,
look at me.
honey, we're
put that on the refrigerator.
I love her. She is the best. And honestly, when she sends me messages and just is like, it's a big compliment because she's married to you, and because, and I said this before, I admire the way you and Amy are on the radio, the camaraderie between, is that the right word?
Yeah.
Between the two of you it's so genuine. Like you say, we're genuine, but you can truly tell that you guys truly enjoy your jobs and you enjoy working with each other. And that's very, I don't know if it's rare or not, but like, I feel like what you two do together, it's magic. It's fun. I enjoy the stories. I enjoy you two so much. And I love Amy. She's great.
That means a whole lot. And I think it is not as common in podcasting and radio as you would think, that podcast co-hosts, radio co-hosts, maybe don't love each other as much as they may try to, but it's a lot harder to fake it than it is to actually feel it.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, is you can tell when it's not genuine and it's being faked or it's just for the show.
Like,
and that doesn't come through with you guys. And if you are faking it, you're doing a really fucking good job.
Yeah, like we don't do our podcast.
Guys.
We don't, there are times, I mean, he doesn't have a choice. If he leaves me, he's screwed with child support payments. We have 4 kids. He will literally, his paycheck will just go to me. So it's better for him just to stay as long as he can. Right. So
Why do you think
have to. That's a lie. You
I'm
love
joking.
me. Stop it.
I don't want to joke too far.
Right.
75% of a joke is true.
I recommend that you guys turn to a video podcasting platform, because watching you do this in addition to listening you would be the best addition. Yes.
Oh, I just can't do
it's so much work though. I mean, look at your setup. I mean, we literally just drop our computer down, plug the mics in, and go. Like, we don't do anything.
Yeah,
I will say, seeing Mackin's reaction to Danielle's just off the wallness, it makes it all the better. And guys, so take everybody listening to this podcast. You have 4 kids, a set of twins in there as well. So take us through the ages. And I know Danielle's already, like, every time you're reminded of how many kids you have, it's
I know.
It's like
I start sweating a little.
Go ahead.
No, you can talk.
So we have an 8-year-old son, Dominic. He's our oldest.
He gets a little boring. If he gets boring, I'll help out.
Obviously. That's why I offered it up for you.
Don't give biographies.
You see what I have to
just
do?
Say
I offered to let her describe it. You tell it, and then she criticizes the way I'm doing it.
Mackin, you are not the only one. You are not the only one. How many times I tell stories for a living, Mackin, and I will start a story, and Emily will jump right to the punchline, and it's over. She goes, Jeffrey's not getting there quick enough. So basically, Amy dropped something on the floor and it got all over her shoes. I said, no, that's not the... you're missing the whole beat.
He tells stories like he likes
I always have to start at the very beginning of the story, and I understand that, but...
Okay, so back to what you were saying. Who are our kids? I'll be quiet.
8-year-old son named Dominic. He has a heart of gold. A 6-year-old daughter named Vivian, who is just the epitome of sass. And then we have twin 2-year-old boys, Dean and Leo. Leo is just a monster. He's like baby form of Hulk right now.
Yes.
And then Dean's just this cute, bubbly, curly-haired little fairy boy.
He's very Dean's amazing. He's the easiest one right now.
So easy. I love Dean.
He's amazing.
Dean will be up high in the rankings this week.
Yeah.
But it literally feels like we're running a daycare.
It's crazy.
And he works from home.
Oh.
So he's been working from home for the last year.
Exactly that face.
Yeah, well, Mackin, that was something I was gonna, because I know I've been listening to the podcast and I hear that you have been working from home. A lot of parents out there are doing this. You have 4 kids at home. You've got Danielle at home. Love you, Danielle. And it's a lot, lots going on. How in the world have you handled working from home with these 4 kiddos?
I don't know that I have handled it or just doing it. Like
therapy.
It's just you can't. It's hard because you can't escape work, you can't escape the kids, you can't escape this one, and it's just always around you.
The love of
it's
your
hard
life.
to find that balance. And I'm very blessed to have a great company to work for, and they're very supportive of that type of scenario and all the shit that everyone's been dealing with over the last year. And ours is just even more amplified because we have such a crazy house right now.
Yeah.
So
he's really learned how to use that mute button really well.
Oh, quick on the mute. Quick on the mute. That's what you gotta be though.
I stay on mute unless I know that there's someone isn't asleep.
Yeah. We get that all the time on conference calls with Amy, my co-host, and her 2-year-old. Oh, all the time. All of a sudden you hear Amy's like, yeah, I thought that segment was crash, boom, Roman. Oh my God. You hear it all the time. And I think it's just becoming standard practice. I mean, this is our reality right now, and I'm glad to see everything opening back up. Making it with the Mackins, subscribe to them, and also give them a follow as well in all the good places. And but I also want to get into, for the two of you, you are the hosts of the podcast. What is one thing that you felt like, did we go a little too far, a little too much detail? Are we in trouble? When did it get like, you were like, I don't know if we should have gone there? Or, Makin, you thought Danielle shouldn't have gone there, or Danielle, vice versa? Because it seems like nothing's off the table. Everything's free range.
I will take this question.
Okay, and then I will expand on it because I don't know what you're gonna say.
So there's been a few instances where she's gone a little far with talking about her sex life.
Oh yeah, he doesn't really like when I share about,
because people I work with, people I don't know, people I do know, things that I wouldn't normally talk about.
They're all getting their dick sucked too.
Case in point.
Yeah.
I don't do it. I'm not saying like they do,
yeah,
but
they
not,
do, definitely
not me.
Not
Not him.
Oh my gosh.
There's been a couple where it was borderline, and I was just like, well, whatever. You wanted to bring it up. And you're like, no, it's fine. It's fine.
And I edit everything. So like, I kind of like, cause he doesn't want to deal with all the like little details of like listening, cutting, and I'm not very good at it. But but there was one time when he brought up he was talking about children and their parents, and he was talking about how some parents, I mean, do we share this story?
Sure.
I mean, because we took it out of ours.
Yeah, why not?
Okay, so he's like, I have a really hard time with parents who dress better than their children. And I'm like, and he's talking and he's going on, he's like, I can't watch like these kids in these like.
It just bugs me. Okay.
Like,
it bugs me when you see a very well put together parent, and then the kid looks like he just rolled out of bed, hair's not done, probably didn't brush his teeth.
And he made like a comment about a Mickey Mouse t-shirt. And I'm like, okay, listen, we have friends that literally put their kids in Mickey Mouse t-shirts. Like, you can't say that. Like, it's rude. It doesn't mean that but he kind of went into a little bit too much detail about him. Like, that hits a little bit too close to home, and we're going to offend people. And the other thing we stay away from is like politics and
we don't talk about
pop culture, because we just like, we know what the truth is in this house. We don't really need to talk about all
there's
that
plenty of
stuff.
other things going on. We're not experts by any means, so we stick to what we know.
Preach. Yeah. We know what's going on in this house. We don't need to know what else is going on.
Yeah, we don't need to talk about volumes.
That. And Makin, to your point, I mean, one of my advisors in college gave me one of the best pieces of advice, and I think you guys embody it without even knowing it, which is, we're only experts on one thing in this world. It's ourselves.
Yep.
So, like, what can you bring to the table? Okay, I can bring my relationship with my kids. I can bring my cooking. I can bring my work life. I know about radio. I can bring that. But I'm not going to be sitting here preaching to to nobody who wants to listen to me banter. I feel the same way about politics. And working for a country station, oh my gosh. And I mean that with no disrespect,
Of course.
Because
but you're kind of already put into a category.
You're all over the place. People already assume things about our fans, assume things about me. I'm from Maryland, the most liberal state to ever exist ever. And I mean, literally blue crabs. Like, come on, folks. But like, the point being, people always make assumptions, and I just stay away from that stuff. As much as I can.
Yeah,
there's plenty of it out there, and it's good for the people who do that, but that's just not who we are. So
yeah.
And
I feel like it's the reason I think this is working for the two of us, and we've always said this, like if this turns into a thing where we actually make money.
Yeah, because we haven't made any
money, but we don't care. It like got us through this pandemic. It like gave us something to look forward to. We would we still do it. This is when it's been a while since we'll sit on the couch, we'll go through Netflix, look at our phones, hang out and like not make eye contact. But like we hadn't done it for 2 weeks, and our podcast is almost a time. We don't even talk about what we're going to talk about before we just start talking. Like we say like, okay, I'll bring up the fight we had and you know, if you do the rankings and then we just go. We don't really rehearse anything. It's kind of like just what happens. And
there'll be plenty of times where we're planning on doing it and we're like, nope, I'm in a bad mood now and it's not happening.
Nope, we're not doing this anymore. I don't like the way you're chewing those potato chips or the sound of your nose, the way it breathes. We're not doing this. Yeah. And I'm just in a horrible mood.
I think that was one thing I wanted to get to because, okay, so in starting this podcast, it was me. I had this idea. My sister did this logo. I don't even know where to point.
It's so cute.
She's a graphic designer, so that was easy. All of this, the imaging was on Photoshop using YouTube. Thank God I could figure that one out. And, but, you know, starting a podcast, I feel like, and there's some stat, and I'm going to botch it on purpose, but it's like, 60% of podcasts only have one episode.
Yeah.
Really?
People have an idea. They say, let's make a podcast. They make one episode, and then it gets ghosted. It's like how many Twitter eggs are out there, right? Yeah. People signed up and never tweeted. So
I'm one of those.
if there are people, families, couples, whoever it might be that want to start a podcast, you know, I could sit here, but I'm in radio. So I've got the backing. I've got the knowledge of it. How would you recommend? What's the first step for somebody?
It's a good question, and I don't know that we have all the tips. I kind of just did some really baseline research, like where are we going to post it on, who's going to host it. I bought two $50 mics on Amazon, and that was about it.
Makin was all the technical end, and then my best advice, truthfully, is you want it to be easy. As soon as it becomes hard, as soon as it becomes this like doesn't bring you joy, it doesn't
something you have to do instead of something you want to do.
Yeah, like sex. Like I really don't want to do it all the time, but like after I'm done, I'm like, God, I feel so much better. Why did I say no to that? I'm so happy. That's kind of like what it is. Like we're like, oh, I guess we'll do it. Like, okay, let's see what happens, and we do it, and then we're like, God, that was good. That was fun. Like, and now I'm drunk, and then I pass out and go to sleep on the couch. We don't do anything on podcast nights. Like definitely a sleep night. But if it's easy, if it brings you joy when you walk away and you can't wait to do it again. If you're bringing, I mean, truthfully, people, I'm sure there's people that hear me are like, God, I can't stand her. She's so rude and obnoxious and talks over her husband. But like, you're not married to me. He chose me. So like.
Yeah, I just realized that recently. People they're like, oh, she's so crazy. How do you deal with that? I'm like, and then we had her sister on one night and she's like, you're the crazy one for staying with her.
You chose
choosing crazy. I'm like, oh shit.
She has a point.
Yeah. Right. I tell my fiance all the time, I'll do something strange, wacko, and weird. And she'll be like, you're so weird. I said, listen, look at me. I was born this way.
Yep.
I can't change who I am. You have made a conscious, sober decision to spend the rest of your life with me. Who's really the crazy one here? And she's like, I hate when you say that. I hate when, because you're so right. And I'm like,
because you're right. Exactly. So it's like that is my best advice. Just if it's easy and it makes you happy, I feel like forcing anything is just like, it's just, it doesn't roll off the tongue. It's not easy. It doesn't bring joy to your life. So that's why we keep doing it. And that's why I think it's been working for us, because we actually have fun and we tell the truth. We don't try and be these people that like, you know, have our lives together, and like getting out of the house is not easy. Going on a trip is not easy. And a lot of people portray that like life, like, oh, look, here we are at home with our suitcases packed. Oh, here we are in Hawaii. They didn't show you the in-between of all the bullshit they had to go through just to get onto the plane.
Yeah, the screaming, the changing the diapers in the middle of the hallway,
the strollers, the the meltdowns, the screaming, the like shoving candy and then telling them to sit still. Like, here's some crack, now sit still and don't talk. Right? It's like, it's insane. But that's what I feel like it makes us feel better, to be honest.
Yeah, and I can humbly say, like, people have said why they listen, and they're like, it's refreshing because we're not the quote Instagram models of their lives. Like, we're showing the raw and the real.
Clearly we are not Instagram models.
Yeah, where everything is just perfect and the right shade of pink and the right shade of teal. Like, that's not us.
Yeah.
Like, we just show it the way it is, or tell it the way it is.
I love that Danielle is working the camera a lot on tonight's podcast.
I can't.
Multiple times she has tried her hardest to push out as many chins as she can. Even though she doesn't have a double chin, she keeps asking for it.
I look like the Honey Boo Boo's mom.
So,
like a thumb.
If you're listening to the podcast, Do What You Love right now, you can follow us on YouTube, Do What You Love JK, not just kidding, Jeff Kirkshin. And that's been an issue my whole life. People are like, sign with your initials. I'm like, then nobody will take me seriously. Yep. So I have to be really careful on that. Now, have your kids ever walked in on a podcast, and how did that go down?
I don't know that they've walked in on it, because we usually do when they go to bed, but they know about it. They probably heard little snippets of it here and there. Definitely not a full length or a full conversation, but they know like the gist of what we talk about. They know about the rankings.
Well, they don't know they know that we have a podcast, that they don't know. Like, I think we tell them, like, we talk about adult things. Like, this is stuff mommies and daddies talk about. This isn't like, your ears aren't ready for some of these things. I'm like, one day, if you really want to, you can listen to it when you're older, but just know. And then we brought them in for one episode to like ask them questions, and they love that, and they want to come back on, but they don't realize that like we're also ranking them at the end of it.
No, they do, because like, I do the Child of the Year rankings, and I gave my son Dom one last year, and I had him do like a whole acceptance speech and things.
Yes.
Wow. And I love that kind of stuff. The integration of the kids. We're like, now you're allowed in.
Yeah. They're basically just stage parents, but they haven't really blown up yet.
Yeah.
It's like the parties, the kids are allowed to hang out, and now it's time to go. It's
exactly.
It's Adult Swim. Now,
it's time for bed. You need to go to bed. Sound machines are the best thing you could ever buy.
Like now, they're upstairs probably listening a little bit, but they would put your headphones on, kids.
Headphones, iPads save our lives. We are very, very honest about like
screen time.
You know what? I've had enough. You're screaming too much. You're driving me fucking crazy. Here is an iPad. Watch whatever you want. Blippi is very famous in our home.
Blippi.
Yeah.
Yep. No, I've heard it. Emily, my fiance, does some babysitting, and one day, this was the scariest moment of my entire life. And I mean that with all of my heart. I didn't know she was babysitting our neighbor's 2 kids, 4 and 2, or 3 and 2. And I came home, and there is Tupperware everywhere. And there is Cocomelon on the TV. And I walked in not knowing what was going on, and thought I was thrust 8 years, 6 years, 4 years in the future. And I not only had gotten married, I had 2 kids and didn't see them grow up. I mean, just all of a sudden, I just woke up.
That fear is our reality with 2 more kids.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yes.
Oh my gosh.
And one of them actually broke. We have these like the things on the cabinet doors.
Yeah, like child safety.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And Leo actually snapped it off the other day. So now we don't have one on the door with all the cups and shit in it. And he is literally, it's like he just walks in, and that's the thing with them, they just dump shit everywhere. And when you're cleaning up one area, they're dumping shit in the other area, or they're in the pantry. You don't know how many. He broke his crib. He snapped his crib in half. So we have my dad come and put a 2x4 under his crib, because I will not take them out of their cribs, because that's like a little jail and they can't get out. And as soon as you give them a bed, it's like, oh, I can get up. I can look at this. I can walk around the house. Look at all this stuff I can mess up.
Yep.
It's the freedom that you're scared of. And I completely understand that.
Their heads and toes will touch the rails when they get out of those cribs.
The podcast is called Making It with the Mackins. It's one of my favorites. It's my fiance's sole favorite, despite me having multiple podcasts. And I'd like to cheers to you guys. It's the first podcast I've consumed alcohol during.
Yes.
So I hope that people can tell. Usually I record these middle of the day at noon. So if I did have alcohol during those, there's a place to go for that. So
yeah. 5 o'clock
You'd be
somewhere.
right there with Danielle.
Yeah, well, I always drink. It's fine. It's 12. Noon is 5 at my house.
Well, Makin, Danielle, it was really, really a pleasure. So awesome to see you both. And yeah, go follow them. Making it with the Mackins.
Thanks for having us.
Check them out right there. Yeah, you guys are great. And I love you all. Bye, guys.
Love you. Bye.